Although the name Sith is now used by the Order of Force users who call upon the dark side, the term originally referred to a Force-sensitive species of red-skinned humanoids. The term Sith Pureblood is now used to distinguish between those descended from the species and the Order itself. The Sith species was discovered 3,000 years ago on Korriban by exiled human Dark Jedi fleeing Republic space after their defeat in a war called the Second Great Schism. The Dark Jedi quickly enslaved the primitive culture, and over many generations, the two groups intermingled. Eventually, the elite ruling class of Korriban consisted almost exclusively of the hybridized offspring of the Dark Jedi and the High Priests of the Sith people. These offspring tended to exhibit the physical characteristics of their Sith parentage, such as red skin, yellow eyes, bony protrusions on their face or head, and fleshy tendrils dangling from the cheeks and chin. For a brief time, Sith blood was seen as a sign of weakness, but the modern empire believes purity of heritage carries the strength of the Force. Genetically speaking, true pureblood Sith are virtually extinct, but red skin is still the mark of an Imperial, almost always a Force user, who can trace his or her ancestry into antiquity. In Star Wars: The Old Republic, you can play any type of character as a Sith pureblood, as species are not restricted to certain origin stories or combat styles in the game. However, you may need to unlock the Sith Pureblood species depending on what class you want to play as. Free-to-play players will need to unlock Sith Purebloods before they create a Sith Pureblood character. Subscribers, however, can automatically create a Sith Warrior or Sith Inquisitor as a Sith Pureblood while they are subscribed. Once the character is created, they do not need to remain subscribed to continue playing with the created character. Let's go over the options when it comes to unlocking Sith Pureblood for other classes. Unlock option number 1. All players can unlock Sith Purebloods for all classes by purchasing the item Legacy Species Unlock Sith Pureblood from the Cartel Market with Cartel Coins, or from the GTN with credits. The Cartel Market sells this unlock for 600 Cartel Coins. The price and availability on the GTN will change day to day and per server, but it's likely very expensive. This unlock is per server, not account-wide, and requires that you have an existing character of any type on that server who has reached level 10 and created a legacy. This is probably the least recommended way to do it. Unlock option number 2. Subscribers and preferred players who already have a Sith Pureblood character can play a Sith Pureblood on a Sith Warrior or Sith Inquisitor and then level them up to level 50, which will automatically unlock the Sith Pureblood option for all future characters, including the Bounty Hunter, Agent, Trooper, Smuggler, and 2 Jedi classes. This unlock is per server, not account-wide. Unlock option number 3, the final and probably best option if you have it available. Subscribers can also unlock Sith Purebloods for all origin stories by spending 1.5 million credits as part of the Legacy system, after they have reached level 10. Free-to-play and preferred players technically can too, but they have their credits capped at 1 million, making it very difficult. This unlock is per server, not account-wide. While the Sith Pureblood ancestry means you're very likely going to be playing a Sith of some sort, a Force-sensitive Imperial character if you're playing a Sith Pureblood, there are all 8 class options available to you, so let's talk about how that might work. The Sith Warrior is likely the most well-suited class for the Sith Pureblood, and the Sith Academy has welcomed many generations of Sith Purebloods into its ranks. Much of the Dark Council is made up of Sith Purebloods. The Sith Inquisitor is the other one that comes for free as a subscriber, but it is an interesting case. The Sith Inquisitor starts off as a slave in the story, and although it is very uncommon for a Sith Pureblood to be a slave, it is still possible. The creative director of the game said this on the concept of Sith Pureblood slaves. As brutal as the Sith are to one another, there must be cases where a powerful Pureblood Sith is overthrown and their surviving family members enslaved. It would certainly be quite the trophy for a Sith who overthrew them. If Purebloods are held to be the most powerful, then defeating and enslaving them must be seen as an impressive display of power indeed. Now let's talk about the other 2 Imperial classes. Imperial agents must master the arts of infiltration, seduction, and assassination to carry out the most dangerous and sensitive Imperial assignments. While it isn't common to see non-humans in the ranks of Imperial intelligence, the Minister of Intelligence recognizes the need to take advantage of an alien mind. While a Sith Pureblood would be very conspicuous in Republic space for spying, They could also walk places within the Empire that others rarely tread. As for bounty hunters, it's never a question if a bounty hunter will find you, only when. Both infamous and anonymous at the same time, bounty hunters are far more than mercenaries for hire. Bounty hunters carve their own paths, and it would be uncommon, but not too surprising, to see a Sith Pureblood bounty hunter, though it would be a profession most Sith Purebloods would look down upon. Now let's take a look at the Republic side. A Sith Pureblood Jedi Knight or Jedi Consular are both kind of things that players tend to make fun of. It's a very uncommon combination. And you'd be pretty conspicuous walking around Tython looking like the forsworn enemy of the Jedi. But it doesn't make it impossible. Due to their connection to the original Sith, a Sith Pureblood would be exceedingly rare to see as a Jedi, especially as they had a genetic predisposition towards the dark side of the Force. However, once in a lifetime, a Sith Pureblood turns to the light with the help of a Jedi, or is found outside of Imperial space by someone with a deep connection to the Force. If you happen to play a Jedi Knight character, you will even get to see this redemption arc for a Sith Pureblood if you choose to help them. While the Jedi tend to have an open mind, the idea of a Sith Pureblood trooper tends to crack me up. But here we go. Troopers are the embodiment of the Republic military's highest aspirations, the most advanced fighting force in the galaxy. Although not impossible, it would be extremely uncommon to see a Sith Pureblood in the Republic military. They would face great prejudice by both their own species for their weakness, as well as by their peers in the military for resembling the greatest foe the Republic military faces, the Sith. Smugglers you can make a little more of a case for, though. Above all else, smugglers make their own destinies. Smugglers require fast reflexes, fast wits, and a fast draw with a blaster. Smugglers are beholden to no traditions, and although it would be uncommon, it would not be too surprising to see a Sith Pureblood smuggler. A Sith Pureblood smuggler would need to tread carefully, as they would resemble everything that the smuggler stands against: slavery, order, and death in the hands of the Sith Empire. One of the things I do love about this game is that although a species and class or story combination may not make perfect sense, you can still make it happen, and you can be that one in a million type of character if you want to. Now let's talk about what these Sith Purebloods look like. Sith Purebloods exhibit the physical characteristics of their Sith parentage, such as red skin, yellow eyes, bony protrusions on their face or head, and fleshy tendrils dangling from the cheeks and chin. In the Star Wars The Old Republic character creator, the female tendril options are much sharper and less fleshy than their male counterparts, and the bone protrusion options are much larger and sharper on the eyebrow ridge if you choose to add those. For male characters, the male tendril options are more similar to tentacles and are a bit more dangly than sharp. Sith Purebloods come in multiple shades of red, dark red, orange, and reddish purple. Their hair also comes in similar colors as well as black. They do have one more interesting character creator option, the jewelry. While the unique silver and gold jewelry seen in the character creation screen for the Sith Purebloods is not described by lore, they are a distinct part of a Sith Pureblood's appearance, including piercings on the ears, nose, and battered gold links around the neck and forehead. This heavy ornamentation in precious metals seems to be in line with the styles of the ancient Sith, including the human-Sith hybrid Nagasadao, who lived during what was called the Golden Age of the Sith, and adorned himself fully in gold-plated armor. Sith Purebloods are not required to wear jewelry in the character creator, and can choose to go without, though there are few examples of Sith Purebloods who do not wear any at all. As Sith Purebloods fall to the dark side, they have the option to turn on dark side corruption, where they begin to lose pigment in their skin and their eyes turn yellow, then orange, so some Sith Purebloods can become very pale, a very light pink color. Now let's talk about names. You can choose any name you want for your Sith Pureblood character. You do not have to try and follow any type of conventions, as Sith Purebloods have spread far and wide across the galaxy, with some being given a traditional Sith Pureblood name, while others have been given a name traditional to their home planet, and others take on a codename or nickname. Sith Purebloods do not seem to have any canon naming rules or suggestions. The biggest examples we have of Sith Pureblood names are Adas, Tenebrae, Ludo Kresh, Fafan, Palladius, Sitharat, and there are many existing Sith Purebloods in both historical lore and modern Old Republic times. As Sith have strong ties to their heritage, they seem to be named with reverence to past great lords of the Sith, rarely choosing nicknames or codenames compared to other species. If you want to see a big list of a ton of Sith Pureblood names, visit the written version of this guide, visible as a link in the description of this video. When you're naming your Sith Pureblood, don't forget that a lot of Purebloods become Darths and then give themselves a special Darth name that is often a pun or play on words or a variation of a name that's dark and scary and full of power. Some Sith Purebloods who have Darth names include Darth Arcus, Darth Igral, Darth Ikaral, Darth Krovos, Darth Legius, Darth Minax, Darth Neris, Darth Farov, Darth Saravan, Darth Shar, Darth Sovereign, Darth Sinar, and Darth Tormen. There is an additional route you can take to naming your Sith character. Sith was the native language for the people of Zyos and Korriban. It was adopted as the mystical language of the Sith Order after the Dark Jedi exiles enslaved the Sith species. There is a really wonderful list of most known Sith language words on Wikipedia, and I've put together a personal list of some of my favorites from that list in the written guide, also linked in this description of this video. There are many notable Sith Purebloods during the Old Republic era. Unlike most other species, there are no recent famous Sith Purebloods, as the species seems to have mostly disappeared or vanished by the time the Star Wars movies take place, and characters such as Darth Bane and Mace Windu considered them extinct. Their Sith language, influence, and legacy, however, have lasted far beyond their own lifetime and continue to be a part of Sith culture. Some really well-known Sith Purebloods in the Old Republic era include Vindikin, the Sith you see with Darth Malgus in the trailers, Lord Scourge, a companion, as well as a major part of Revan's story and the later expansions, Darth Sith'Arat, your main contact on Makeb if you're an Imperial player, Darth Krovos, who's risen to the Dark Council in the recent expansions, Darth Valron, a member of the Dark Council, Darth Arcus, a Sith who is part of the Shadow of Revan expansion, Zillus, a Sith you'll meet in the Dantooine expansion if you're on a Republic character, Servant 1, and of course 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 from the Sith Warrior story. There's Fafan, a Sith Acolyte from the Sith Inquisitor story. There's Praven, that Sith that we mentioned who has a possible redemption arc as part of the Jedi Knight story. Darth Ikaral, a Sith that's part of the Red Reaper Flashpoint and the final boss. Zavrasha, a Sith Pureblood who's part of the Nar Shaddaa bonus series, who's actually voiced by the same person who voices Lana Beniko. And we do have a few examples outside of the Old Republic game. We have Ludocresh, Mark Aragnos, and Nagasadao, all part of the ancient Sith Tales of the Jedi comics, and Exile Kresh, a descendant of Ludocresh, who's part of the Blood of the Empire Old Republic comics. That's a pretty good overview of Sith Purebloods in the Old Republic era, and now I'm going to be going into a deep dive of their lore from as many different sources as I could find. You don't need to know any of this. This is for players who like to daydream, make up stories about their character, or really deep dive into what their character might be like. More than 98% of Lord Vitia's Sith Empire was of pureblood descent, but only those with the purest bloodline and visual markers were considered part of the species. It has always been a privilege to face the trials at the Sith Academy. Even though most acolytes fail, and the cost of failure is typically death, the chance to train in the dark arts and become one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy is incentive enough for most. Others, attuned to the Force but reluctant to participate, are dragged and forced to face the trials. Until recently, only purebloods and humans from the Empire were allowed entrance. To produce a Sith child is one of the Empire's highest honors, and families identify and groom potential candidates from an early age. Since the loss of so many Sith in the war, however, a swell of less traditional thinking has opened the Academy to anyone displaying Force sensitivity. Some conservative Sith call this a foolish and desperate move that will dilute the Order instead of returning it to its strength. Others accept it as a temporary measure. At first, the conflict was merely intellectual as the first waves of new recruits into the Academy died ingloriously. But things are changing, and the new breed of Sith may yet prove itself worthy. A cruel planet of rocky red deserts and crumbling ruins, Korriban was the homeworld of the ancient Sith. Reclaimed by the Empire in recent decades, it is now the site of the Sith Academy, where the Dark Council oversees the training of new acolytes. Only Sith may come and go freely from the Academy, and for a non-Sith to visit Korriban is a great privilege. Surrounding the Academy are the tombs of the first Dark Lords. Used as testing grounds by the Academy overseers, the tombs remain filled with traps, monstrosities, and relics, even millennia after their construction, along with the bodies of a generation of failed acolytes. While exploring Korriban, you'll get to speak to a Sith Pureblood character named Lord Aberon. Here's a quick excerpt from his quest that really explains what the Sith Purebloods are like in the Sith Empire. Korriban was wrought by the true-blooded Sith millennia ago. Our ancestors, a crimson race of conquerors, raised the statues around us. Over the eons, however, our people mingled with slaves. Now, the red markings of true Sith are rare, and the purity of this planet is in question. Red skin is only a mark. It is the strongest indicator of a mighty heritage, but not the only one. True purity and strength are carried in the blood. I worry that our blood is being diluted over generations. In the Emperor's name, I've come to learn whether the Academy's overseers are Sith or not. The training of aliens as Sith is an aberration. So little Sith blood in all of the Academy, and only one of the overseers wears the red marks. This is shameful. I will bring this to the attention of the Dark Council. Measures must be taken if the true Sith are to survive. I'll advise purges and enslavement of those with the thinnest blood, and uplift the pure. It will be the Dark Council's decision, however. I fear for the Sith as a whole, and I would honor the ancestors who gave me strength. The origins of the Sith Pureblood are a very interesting part of Old Republic-era lore. Here's a codex entry about them. Exiled for horrific dark side experiments, a group of Dark Jedi made a last stand against the Jedi Order on Korbos, where they were ultimately defeated. The survivors fled beyond the borders of Republic space, and seeking refuge, they discovered the planet Korriban, home to the red-skinned Sith species. The Sith looked on the Dark Jedi's force abilities with awe and worshipped them as gods. Led by the fabled warrior and tactician Ajunta Pall, the Dark Jedi began forging the Sith into a glorious civilization, built on the principles they had established after breaking with the Jedi Order. They ordered the construction of great monuments on Korriban, vast cities that did not survive the ages, glorious temples, and elaborate tombs. As time passed, the Dark Jedi and the Sith species intermarried, until there were few true purebloods remaining. Eventually, there were only small physical differences between them. There were only the Sith, strong in the dark side of the Force, and their new Sith Empire. Here's a really cool excerpt from the StarWars.com databanks that no longer really exists. The term Sith was once used to describe a variety of beings and was not always synonymous with the dark side. Originally not only a cult, but a cultured species before they were subjugated by Dark Jedi exiles. The blood-colored humanoid Sith people lived in a superficially barbaric, though surprisingly harmonious existence on their homeworld, Korriban. Sentient sacrifices to their gods, dining on blood soup, a rigid and prejudiced caste system, and war between nations were all common in Sith culture. These barbarous practices were accepted not as contrary or antagonistic to life, but integral to it. War was quite literally a concept on par with peace or serenity. Conceptually, the Sith people did not, or could not, differentiate one state from the other. There was ultimately only existence. Some historians have speculated that the attitudes of the early Sith people were owed to a prehistoric encounter between their species and the vampiric being known as the Ansati. Volf Karko, a rare Ansat Jedi known for his prolonged study of one of the Jedi Temple's rare Sith holocrons, was fond of reminding his fellow knights that the Ansati remember the very first Sith. Beyond the anecdotal, though, there is no solid evidence to support this theory. A peculiarity of the Sith people was their innate tendency toward left-handedness. This led to their creation of the Lanvarok, a forearm-mounted weapon adapted strictly for left-handed use. Human Sith lords later crafted a right-handed version. Pure-blooded Sith were also steadily bred out as their genes were eventually alchemically mixed with those of humanoid Dark Jedi. Even after the genetic fusion, the Sith's rigid caste system remained in place. Priests and warriors, called Kisai and Massassi respectively, were two of the prominent classes. Later in their history, those that bore the elevated title of Sith Lord were becoming relatively common, but in 100,000 years of their existence, the Sith only ever had one monarch overlord, nearly 3,000 years before the rise of the Galactic Republic. King Adas was a massive, regal being encased in majestic ebon warrior armor. Raised from his youth as a chosen being due to the charcoal pigment of his skin, Adas demonstrated great intelligence, fighting prowess, and a tremendous aptitude for Sith magic. With his alchemically forged battle axe, Adas led the bloody unification of Korriban's disparate nations and became its undisputed world ruler. The Sith people came to believe that King Adas was immortal and that his reign would be eternal. In fact, Adas was almost 300 years old and had earned the title Sith Ari, meaning the Lord or Overlord, when alien invaders came to Korriban. Misshapen, force-sensitive beings, these were cotton soldiers of the so-called Infinite Empire, first attempted to lull King Adas into their confidence by teaching him how to record his essence into a pyramidal magical device called a holocron. But the Rakata soon showed their true colors and tried to conquer the Sith people. But even at that ripe age, the Sith King refused to go quietly and introduced the invaders to his oversized axe and the unconquerable will of his people. The Darksiders were defeated, but the king gave his life to secure the Sith's freedom. After his death, King Adas's holocron passed to his Shadow Hand, his trusted advisor and second in command. Without Adas's unifying influence, wars once again raged for the rule of the Sith people, with the reigning combatants arrogantly claiming the title of Sith Ari, and eventually forcing a relocation of the Sith capital to the planet Ziost. Eventually, almost 24 millennia after Adas's death, a proper successor to Adas seemed to come at last. Known in Republic space as the Exiles, traitorous Jedi defeated in a galactic war called the 100-Year Darkness, arrived on Korriban and cowed the Sith people with their astounding force abilities, lightsabers, and superior technology. With the help of the ruling King's Shadow Hand, these Gen Jedi, as the Sith called them, lured the Sith monarch into their confidence and destroyed him. Never anticipating this stunning sequence of events, the Sith people concluded that the Dark Jedi were themselves more powerful gods than even the Sith Ari. Bestowing the Exiles with Adas's holocron, the reign of the first Gen Ari, or Dark Lord, of the Sith began. The last Lord of the Sith Empire to possess Adas's holocron was Lord Garu, who died around the time of the Great Hyperspace War. The holocron was abandoned on the planet Ashash Re until its rediscovery centuries later by the fallen Jedi Frida Nad. Nad used it to rule the planet Onderon, where the teachings of King Adas helped usher in a new age of darkness. When the Jedi eventually freed Onderon of the dark side, they gained possession of the Sith holocron and banished it to a place where it could, presumably, never be recovered, under millions of tons of water on a scarcely known world called Kodai. Look, I told you we were going to do a deep dive into Sith Pureblood lore. There's a lot out there, and that's not even it. This is actually from Emperor Palpatine himself, from the Essential Guide to the Force book. As our defenseless ship traveled into the uncharted space, guided only by the dark side, our thoughts were heavy with the losses we had suffered. But after our ship emerged from hyperspace, we soon arrived upon the world you know as Korriban. We were astonished to find that the native Sith were force-sensitive. Certainly our so-called banishment was not the consequence of Jedi whim, but the will of the Force. The Sith attempted to terrify us with crude but imaginative illusions, some of which were reasonably impressive. Although we lacked weapons, we were obviously stronger and more intelligent than they, and yet they were still eager to prove themselves and prevent us from appropriating their alchemical secrets. It was almost immediately clear that even their most talented sorcerers were no match for us, but they demonstrated honor when they yielded. Eventually, all of the Sith, especially their Massassi warriors, lived only to serve their new masters. They really are amazingly malleable, the Massassi. New starships were constructed, weapons were fashioned, and more remarkable beasts were conceived. Although I personally prefer to rely upon the Force to create organic wonders, numerous offspring are living proof that the Massassi are biologically compatible with various members of my brethren. And so we who are the fallen Jedi, the fallen become dark, the dark become exiles. We became Dark Lords of the Sith. As you play the Shadow of Revan expansion, you'll actually run into the Massassi people on Yavin 4. These are not the same as Sith Purebloods, though they are related. It doesn't require much of an imagination to see that the hulking Massassi are genetic cousins to the Sith Pureblood. Both share the same distinctive skin tones, skeletal ridges, and body tendrils. Nourished by the dark side of the Force, the yellow-eyed Massassi have developed a culture based around hunting, combat, and violent ritual sacrifice. On Yavin 4 in particular, the Massassi are markedly different from purebloods. These impossibly strong warriors have developed dense and sharp claws on their hands and feet, and their intellect has diminished to the point that they rely almost entirely on animal instinct and use grunts to communicate. Their society, such as it is, has developed into true barbarism. The first Massassi warriors to arrive on the fourth moon of Yavin were intelligent beings. However, their utter devotion to the Dark Lord of the Sith, Naga Sadow, rendered moot their capacity for independent thought. To Sadow, the Massassi were born and bred to build temples in his honor and to defend him until death, nothing more. Perhaps it was for this reason that Sadow's experiments in Sith alchemy mutated his followers into rudimentary brutes. I hope you enjoyed this really deep dive into every little bit of Sith Pureblood lore I could find in and out of the Old Republic era. If you have a Sith Pureblood character in Star Wars The Old Republic or are creating a Sith Pureblood for any other type of Star Wars project, I would love to hear about them in the comments below. If you want to show your support for these types of in-depth lore videos, please visit Swtorista.com/support. And if you want more Old Republic videos to show up on your YouTube homepage, subscribe to this channel. And as always, may the dark side of the Force be with you.